One of my favorite things about collecting, whether it's cars like I show on this channel, or other things I collect outside of my channel like action figures, Lego, etc., is going through rumor lists and trying to analyze and predict what will be coming out in the future. I absolutely love looking at rumored future releases and just getting hyped out for what's coming next, seeing if they're true or not. And we actually have a rumor list for cars for 2022, thanks to several notable members of the Cars community online. Of course, Disney Docket, Trunk Fresh Green 34, Epic Green Thunder, Sensei Luminous, and JC Cars 8. They did some pretty deep digging and were able to find several, 32 at the time of making this video, listings for singles releasing in 2022. Now, Disney Docket made this information public on his channel. I definitely suggest checking it out. I'm sure most of you have probably seen it by now. But I'm going to be taking his word for it that all of these are singles. I'm going to be taking his word for quite a few things in this video. And basically, what I'm going to be doing is going through my thoughts on this list of cars and also giving my own theories for those that we don't know. I watched through Disney Docket's video, really informative, great, as his stuff, always is very informative, very well done. But I have several of my own thoughts and theories for these different cars, so I'm very excited to go through it with you guys today. Anyway, guys, welcome back to another video, and to my thoughts on the 2022 rumored cars. So, let's get started. First off, I'm just going to say it. I've made it pretty public that I'm not the biggest fan of 2021's Cars Diecast line. Really wasn't a big fan of just how many Cars 3 cars there were that were very similar to each other, like all the Legends and the racing tractors. Wasn't a big fan of how nearly every new release was from Cars 3, and just how few releases from the other movies there were. And let me just say, going off of this rumor list, if these cars do end up coming out in 2022, I think it's going to be an absolutely exceptional year, especially with the Disney Plus show launching at the end of the year. It's going to be an incredible year for Cars Diecast. Now, most of the cars on this list are re-releases. Of course, we will still be getting a bunch of new releases and other things. There are several major things missing. You'll see there are only about 3 race cars on the list. There aren't really any Radiator Springs Townies. So, I'm sure that those will still be coming. Just because these are the guys that we currently know of because of these Walmart listings doesn't mean that they'll be what we're getting first or that they're the only things we're getting. Since, of course, it is only 32 cars, which is quite a few, but it's like a third the size of your typical Cars main line, honestly. Anyway, though, I have my notes written down here. I'm going to be going through the list in a different order than Disney Docket did. But I'm going to be going through all of my thoughts on it. Hence the name of the series, of course, My Thoughts. I like doing this series sort of unscripted, just my raw reaction to these things. So, let's get started. So, up first, we have Lightning McQueen. In fact, we have 2 listings for different Lightning McQueens. Really not all that much to say. It's 2 listings for 2 different Lightning McQueens. They could be literally any version of McQueen. I could easily see, Cars 1 McQueen, Cars 3 McQueen, Fabulous McQueen, Rusty's McQueen, World Grand Prix McQueen is almost definitely one of those 2, as he is always finding his way onto shelves. Unless, of course, he's in a 2-pack again like he was this year. But yeah, it can be literally any McQueen for these 2 McQueens. And it could also be any variant of McQueen. Like we got McQueen with Cone this year. We could see literally any, accessory McQueen. I'm just looking at my McQueens right now. Let's see. Bugmouth McQueen, Tug McQueen, Tongue McQueen, that is, Dinoco McQueen. I'd love to see Dinoco McQueen again. It's been quite a while for him. But yeah, it could be any McQueen. So, probably nothing too interesting, just your typical McQueens. But the next thing on the list is a pretty interesting one. So this guy is labeled as Big Lightning McQueen, and I have no idea what on earth that is supposed to mean. So, here's the thing. You'll see that this list uses, preliminary names. Code names, preliminary names, unofficial names for a lot of the cars, and there are quite a few interesting spelling errors and typos and such. So, after seeing some of the other entries that had spelling errors and grammatical errors, when I saw Big Lightning McQueen, my mind went to Bug Lightning McQueen, Bugmouth McQueen, which I think is definitely an option. Um, Now we did just see Bugmouth McQueen get a release in the 2021 Welcome to Radiator Springs series. I believe that just came out just very recently. But I don't think that means we can't see him out as a single next year. I would be pretty disappointed by that. That's definitely one of my least favorite McQueen variants. But, like, I wouldn't be too surprised if Big McQueen ends up being Bug McQueen. If it's not that, then quite frankly, I have no idea what it is. You need to remember that all of these cars are supposedly singles. And so, my mind also went to Lightning Storm McQueen, who is a deluxe. But if all of these are singles, then it can't be Lightning Storm McQueen because he is a deluxe. So Big McQueen, I am completely lost for that one. Yeah, not really sure what that's supposed to be. But after Big McQueen, we get a far simpler one, Mater. Just Mater. This could be, once again, any Mater. Now, again, like I said earlier, there aren't really any Radiator Springs Townies or anything on the list. So I have a feeling that this Mater is going to be a variant of him. What variant? I have no idea. Whether it's a new Cars 3 version with a hat, or a re-release of an older one from 1 or 2. No idea. But I've got a feeling we'll probably see a re-release of a Mater from Cars 2. Maybe the Mater with balloon. Because a lot of these cars, in fact, I believe all the cars we have that are from Cars 2 on this rumor list come from the wheel well scene. Which, where they're watching the Meldorado show, like that part of the movie. Which previously had a few series to itself. There was a wheel well series in 2013, a Meldorado show series in 2014, and a 95 Returns series in 2016. Now, this year, probably, once again, we'll be ditching labeling each car as from a certain category. I assume they'll continue the system of this year where they just tell you what movie they're from and then often get that wrong. But regarding that, all of the cars this year, despite not being labeled as part of a specific series, they were all based off of certain parts of the movie. We had several racing legends. We had several racing tractors. We had several World Grand Prix fans, etc., etc. So, it seems that one of the things they're going to be focusing in on for 2022, and sorry if I say 2021 at any point of this video, one of the things they're certainly going to be focusing on for 2022 is that Meldorado scene / the McQueen Comes Home scene. So, I think it could be Mater with balloon. And on that note, Otis is on the list, on the rumor list, another pretty nice car, pretty nice background character. Not really background character, he has several lines, but one that'll be really nice to see again. I feel like his Thailand variant is certainly going to look interesting. Then we have Green Ramon, which, as Disney Docket speculated in the video, is most likely Artist Ramon. That's something I completely agree with. We just got an update to Green Ramon this year, and when Mini Racer Artist Ramon was released, he was just labeled as Green Ramon. So yeah, I think Green Ramon in this case is the Artist Ramon from Cars 2, which goes along perfectly with these other sort of Meldorado show-esque characters. And we will be returning to those Meldorado show-esque characters in just a minute. Our next car is Tractor, which could go either way for a racing tractor or just a regular tractor. Now, in his video, Disney Docket goes over the fact that the last 2 releases of a regular tractor have been a deluxe. So he assumes that this will most likely be a racing tractor, which I can completely agree with. I could totally see that. We'll probably get some more racing tractors in the future. But I'm not too sure. I mean, here's the thing. Obviously, the tractors were made as deluxes because Mattel knows, number one, they're pretty big. And number 2, Mattel knows that people want to buy a lot of them. So why not make a bit of extra money off of people wanting to buy several tractors? But part of me is saying that now that they've done the racing tractors as singles, they're going to go back and re-release the normal tractor as a single, which I'd absolutely love. I'm sure I'd buy several of them. I don't really know. I don't really know where I stand on that. I would certainly like them to release the regular tractor as a single, and I feel like it is kind of likely because now you make like 6 or 7 racing tractors and they're all singles, and then you release the normal tractor not as a single. That's kind of shady, you know? Like if they go back, especially if they release the normal tractor and a racing tractor at the same time, and one's a deluxe and one's a single, yeah, that's not going to be a pretty good look. Hopefully, tractor means normal tractor getting a single release, and if not, if it's a racing tractor, then, well, then it's just another racing tractor. I don't really know what to say for that. Speaking of racing, though, like I said earlier, surprisingly small amount of racers on this list, but of course we will get more. Up first, let's get easily the most boring thing on the list out of the way. J. J-A-E, the Rusty's Racing Center trainee, the virtual reality one who didn't even have his VR headset. With Jay re-releasing, I'd assume we'll be getting Ernesto, I believe was the name of the one with him. They both released last year in 2020. Don't really care much about the Rusty's Racing Center trainees, but I like the fact that they're continuing to re-release them instead of making more and more and more new ones. Which usually I wouldn't say, but in the case of the Rusty's Racing Center trainees, we just got so many new ones for such a long period of time. It's nice for them to just be going back, I think, and re-releasing some of them. Although, when it comes to which ones to re-release, I wouldn't recommend that they re-release the ones from 2020 and 2022. I think they should have gone back and done some of the ones from 2018 or 2019, but whatever. Anyway, though, let's go on to some of the other racers. Up first, we have Ralph Carlo, who was the Little Twerky Pistons racer in the first and third Cars movies. So for him, his re-release could go either way. Personally, I really hope it's the Cars 1 variant. I'm hoping for the Cars 1 variant. Now, Mattel has re-released most of the Piston Cup racers from the first movie following the release of Cars 3. They are yet to re-release the Cars 1 Ralph Carlo, and I feel like they're going to continue that trend until they've re-released all of the Piston Cup racers minus like Dale Earnhardt and the Apple Racer. So I've got a feeling that it'll probably be the Cars 1 variant. At least that's what I'm hoping. But, you know, there's definitely an equal chance that it's the Cars 3 variant instead, which I wouldn't mind. I believe it's been pretty long since Ralph Carlo, since his Cars 3 variant came out. I believe he was only ever released as a single in 2017. He's one of the guys who is still missing artwork. So, you know, I think that one can definitely go either way. And up next, we have Intersection. Now, the interesting thing here is that while Ralph Carlo had his name, Intersection is just labeled as Intersection. And that leaves, once again, 2 options. Jimmy Cables, who we just saw out this year, or Flipped Over, who is easily, most likely, the rarest next-gen, just got an endurance racer variant. I think it's a pretty safe bet that this release is Flipped Over. You know, they've released all of the next-gens now, minus the Apple one, of course. Flipped Over just makes sense as a re-release. You know, they've re-released all of the other next-gens from the next-gen 4-pack. They're all pretty easy to get. In fact, JD McPillar just became a peg warmer, at least in my area. So, you know, I think Flipped Over is definitely what that Intersection is. And I don't know why, if it were Jimmy Cables, I don't know why they would release him again after he was just out this year. Unless when they re-release him, they fix his color scheme and make him pink instead of red. That would be nice, but I highly doubt that. Intersection is almost definitely Flipped Over. Now let's move on to some Piston Cup themed cars, which makes up quite a bit of the list. Checkers is one of the code names. It just says Checkers. Most likely Charlie Checker, the Piston Cup pace car. Interesting that he has a code name, but again, several of the other ones have code names as well. We've got a few race fans. Pretty sure all 4 of these guys are fairly common. We've seen all of them around several times in the past. They are Matthew True Blue McCrew, Timothy Two Stroke, Brad Windmiller, And finally, Darla Vanderson. Now, Brad Windmiller, or Windmiler it might be, because I believe there's only one L. Um, Brad is labeled as Bud Windmiler, which is certainly odd. No relation, of course, to Bud the RV, since he's a super chase and can't be re-released. I don't know why he's called this, but we could assume once again it's an error. This is definitely Brad Windmiller. Nice to see some Cars 1 race fans back. Yeah, they're pretty common. They're the race fans that they almost always release. I actually don't have Darla or Brad, though, so to me it's a nice thing to see them again. And Timothy Two-Stroke and Matthew Trueblue McCrew are both very nice race fans. But then we have one more race fan, a car labeled Camera Hog fan, which is an absolutely hilarious code name. Obviously, this is just their preliminary name. When they're out on shelves, you're not going to see them labeled as Camera Hog fan, as much as I would love that. Now, I have no idea who this could be. There are literal thousands of race fans in the Cars series. I would like it to be a race fan from Cars 3, because we really haven't had many of those. I would really, really like to start getting some, especially those for, like, cars that aren't the main characters. You'll see guys in the background of Cars 3 with, like, Vitaline hats or RPM 64 hats. But yeah, I'd really like to get that. Even just, like, a Jackson Storm fan. I think we're well overdue for that. But Camera Hog fan, if you have any idea as to who you think it might be, definitely let me know in the comments. If you want to look for who it might be, just look for a fan in one of the Cars movies who seems to be hogging the camera. That's probably your guy. But yeah, seems like it'll be a new release due to the fact that the code name is like a description and not a name. Then after that, we have three different listings for different Rusty's Tent Rusty cars. Now, it's been quite a while since we've seen these guys out, and I'd assume we'll be getting more than just the 3 here. It's kind of odd to just have 3, but a lot of them have really just absolutely skyrocketed in price, so it's going to be great to see them again. Up first, one of the listings is for a car labeled as Pitts, P-I-T-T-S. This is almost definitely Donna Pitts, the background Rusty car that we've seen released several times since 2010. Up next, we have W.R. Worth, almost definitely for Jonathan Wrenchworks, the car who McQueen, if you remember in the first movie when Lightning is shown doing that awful Rusty's commercial, there's a car that he fixes the back of with Rusty's bumper ointment. That's Jonathan Wrenchworks. For whatever reason, or Wrenchworths, for whatever reason, he has a name and a face and a diecast that has been released on several occasions. He's a car that I'm missing, so I'll be very glad to see him back. And finally, Andy Vaporlock. Easily one of my most anticipated re-releases. I know he's just a rusty car, but I really like him. Andy Vaporlock was a car that I really, really liked when I first saw him back in 2016. I went to the store hoping to find him. I didn't remember his name, and I accidentally bought Michael Sparkbur instead. And then I regretted it for several months, and then I saw him again in a store for a higher price, because it was some, like, third-party toy store. And then I still didn't buy him. And now Andy Vaporlock is like $70 online. I should have gotten him when I had the chance, but I'm very glad to see that he will be re-released. He's one I'm very excited to pick up, and yeah, his price is definitely about to go down because of that. Up next, we have Pity. Yeah, their name is just Pity. It can be literally any Pity ever. Hopefully, it is a pit crew Pity. We got some really nice Pitties in 2021. Sweet Tea's Band, Millie, Double Clutch Daily. But I hope that this Pity is a Piston Cup Pity. I hope it's a Piston Cup Pity from Cars 3. That would be great. Another group of characters we are long overdue for. Cars 3 pit crews, please. But even if it were a Pity from the first Cars, that'd be nice. And you know what else would be really nice? World Grand Prix Pitties. We are missing 2 of them. Lewis's Pity and Shoe's Pity. Please re-release them. Or not re-release, just release them. They've never been released before. We really need those to finish up the World Grand Prix pit crews. And also, from the World Grand Prix, Max Schnell's Pity. That'd be really nice. That's another car from 2016. Same year as those Rusty cars. Same year as a lot of these cars that are being re-released. A lot of cars from 2015, 2016 are really expensive now. Again, some of those rusty cars are some of them, as is Max Schnell's pity, so it'd be really nice to get him. Basically, I'm down for any pity. I just hope it's a good one. Hope it's a Piston Cup one. Another one I'd like to see, though, is the Rusty's Racing Center pity. Like, just those, like, blank white ones that are, like, the Laura Spinwell model would be really nice. Like, the one that goes up to Sterling holding the tablet would be the one that I would want. Or just, like, a Racing Center pity with a tablet. That would be really nice. But, yeah. Moving on to our next listing. Now, we're getting into some of the more interesting things. Up first, Bertha Butterswagen. That's right, the Bertha Butterswagen, the famously canceled car from back in, like, 2010, who will seemingly finally be seeing a release 12 years later. It's about time. It's really, really about time. She, of course, is the car that, like, looks at Mac in disgust when he's making faces in the back of a, like, tanker truck in the Life is a Highway sequence. Bertha Butterswagen is a release we've needed for way too long. She has a name and a description in the Meet the Cars book, where Diecast got canceled, and somehow didn't get re-released in the 2010s, which was really surprising to me. When they were uncanceling a bunch of other cars from 2010, like Dan Sklarkenberg, I was really surprised to not see Bertha Butterswagen, but it's great to have her, and while we're at it, can we please get Benny Calipier out here? Please, I believe that was his name, the guy that is watching the movies with Mac, you know, on the subject of canceled cars who seem to be very annoyed at Mac. Yeah, why were there are two small cars that have annoyed reactions to Mac in the first movie, and both of them were canceled back in 2010. That's an incredibly strange coincidence. Now we move on to more of the Cars 2 releases that I discussed earlier from the Meldorado show. Up first, Meldorado. Yeah, that's basically a given. Really nice car, really like Meldorado. He's a car that I've been using in my series every single day for years. He does the recaps for my Cars Adventures episode. So, pretty nice car, one that will be great to see on shelves again. After him, we have two listings, one called Axle Row and another called Miles. Of course, you put those together and add a D at the end, and you get Miles Axelrod, the secret antagonist of Cars 2, who did an incredibly good job at hiding his plan and totally didn't have a convoluted plan at all. But seriously, Miles Axelrod being back is great. I hope it's his normal variant, just so that people who don't have his normal variant can get it. It might be his microphone variant from the Tokyo Party series from 2015, I believe, which was meant to get a re-release a few years ago, according to some other rumors, but that never came to fruition. It seems that re-releasing Miles has been an idea that they've had for several years now, and I'm all for it. Even though I have the normal Miles, I don't care what variant it is, I just want to see Miles Axelrod back on store shelves. The weird thing about him is that there are two listings, one labeled Axle Row and one labeled Miles. What could this mean? A few different options. It could just be an error, which I think is probably what it will be. It could mean that we're getting more than one variant of him, which would be pretty odd. Now, I'd absolutely love to see the, like, renovated Miles Axelrod that got canceled back in 2016. That would be really great to see. Or the Outback Miles Axelrod Deluxe from 2014's Meldorado show. But, again, this rumor list only contains singles, so yeah, I really don't know why there are two listings for Miles Axelrod. I would not expect them to do Miles and Miles with microphone, really wouldn't expect that. Miles with open hood was a chase, so he can't be re-released. I have no idea why there are two Miles, unless one is a single and one is a deluxe, but that can't be the case. Or unless one is some sort of special metallic release or something. We have no idea what Mattel's going to be doing next year regarding, like, a line of metallic cars. Since the release of Cars 3, we've had, like, a special metallic car series every year. We had Scavenger Hunt from 2018 to 2020. We had Silver Collection in 2020. Racing Red in 2021. maybe, um, maybe they're doing another metallic series of some sort and Miles is a part of it. I don't know. Really don't know. That would be pretty nice. It would be nice to get a metallic version of him, but I'm not really sure what that means. But if you guys know anything, if you have any ideas for any of these cars, definitely leave a comment about it. Moving on from Axel Rowe and Miles, we have a car that's simply called Beaker. Disney Docket in his video discusses that it's most likely Jessica Giampetrol, hope I'm pronouncing that right, who of course is the Pity that we see helping create All in All in Cars 2. A Pity that I've wanted to get for years, so I'd be very glad to see her out again. She was in a 2-pack with another car, Nate Stanchion, and then the third scientist, Lee Rosse, was a chase, so he can't be re-released. Also, he didn't have a beaker with him, he had a different sort of container. Now, Jessica is holding a beaker, so that's why it's speculated that Beaker is most likely her. And Disney Docket brings up a very good point that, of course, they probably wouldn't re-release her by herself. She was originally in a 2-pack, and she's just a Pity. So, like he said, I think that we'll most likely be seeing Jessica with a few accessories alongside her, similar to what Mattel did this year with Millie having her cone with her and her cleaning device, and all of the members of Sweet Tea's band coming with their instruments. I think Jessica, including some other scientific equipment, definitely makes sense if this is her, and if it's not her, then I have no idea who Beaker is. Although I do think that there is a pretty viable option with the name Beaker that a lot of people are overlooking. And now, wrapping things up, we have a pretty interesting one, Cruise with Mud and Flames. Or sorry, Cruise with Mud and Fire, that is. So Cruise with Mud and Fire is definitely a version of Frances Beltline Cruise. As for what the fire on her is, Cruise doesn't, get caught on fire at any point in the Demolition Derby. There's not a part where she's burnt in any way. There is track damage Cruise, but that wouldn't have any mud on her. Cruise with Mud and Fire is probably Frances Beltline with a new accessory of some kind. And, in my opinion, it's probably just going to be a flaming barrel. Probably a re-release of the flaming barrels that we got in the 2017 Demo Derby Walmart exclusive rubber tires line. You could easily see that be an accessory packed with her. Just like what they did this year with Cars 3 McQueen coming back with a piston cup. I could just simply see this Cruise with Mud and Fire being Frances Beltline with a repack of that flaming barrel. Another thing it could be is there's a shot in the Demolition Derby where we see a tire that's on fire roll by Lightning and Cruise. It could be that, definitely. That's what I would prefer it to be, because at least that's a new accessory. Unless this Cruise has a new expression or is a completely new car, I'm not going to be picking it up just for the accessory, I don't think. But yeah, that's another one where it's pretty up in the air. But I think that the fire being that barrel accessory or maybe a flaming tire definitely are viable options. Disney Docket brings up the idea of it being the trophy she won at Thunder Hollow. I would totally prefer that over either of the options I just suggested, but I don't really feel like it will be if it's called with fire. Although, I think, honestly, at the end of the day, if you're going to release a Frances Beltline with an accessory, why wouldn't you do that? But, yeah, I guess for that one, we'll just have to wait and see. And then, there are a few other cars here. Colin Beaurev and Grillante, or Griante, both of which are named after Pixar employees. There's really nothing to say about these guys. There's no indication as to who these two characters are. They could be anyone from any of the 3 movies easily. They're just new characters. We'll just have to wait and see what they are. Then we have 3 characters labeled Diecast TBD. For those of you who don't know, TBD means to be determined. Their names haven't been decided yet, or who they are hasn't been decided yet, or whatever. Or just the listing hasn't been updated to say who their names are. Those 3, once again, could be literally anybody. And then the final listing is a very interesting one. A car labeled PGPR. Now, what does PGPR stand for? I have no clue. I've been trying to figure this out all day. I watched Disney Docket's video on these rumors. like right when I woke up this morning, and I spent my entire school day trying to figure out what PGPR is. Probably failed some assignments because I was too busy trying to figure out PGPR. Seriously, I have no clue what this is. The best I could think of is, with all of the mistakes in spelling or not spelling, but grammar and names, and yeah, mistakes in spelling. Axelrod is called Axel Row. I could easily see PGPR being just an awful misspelling of RPM. Maybe. That's really all I could think of. But if you guys can think of literally anything that PGPR could be, definitely let me know in the comments. And with all those cars together, it seems that 2022 already has some incredibly promising releases, and I really cannot wait for it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'd love to know your thoughts on these cars. Who are you looking forward to? Who are you not looking forward to? What else do you want to see them release? Why did I fail my math test, and why is it because of PGPR? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.